This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 543.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. Hello, everybody. This is Adam Silvey, host of the Kitchen Sink WP podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. There are no WordCamps next weekend. That's a bummer. But so just relax, I guess. On that note, I did hear, I want to share with you, that I heard WordCamp Canada was great. Like, a lot of positive feedback came together, and people had a great time attending, learning, networking, friendships, all that. So I'm bummed I missed out on it. Didn't go after the end of the day, but I'm sure maybe I'll go in a future year. So that's kind of cool. All right, moving on, segment one in the news. A couple of things to talk about here. First and foremost, WordPress 6.6 did come out last week. It's known as Dorsey, and you should take a look. Check it out, take a look at it. I have not yet taken the time to do so. I plan to in the next week or two, and I'm actually thinking about doing a deep dive into it and talking about it. So stay tuned for that. Also in the news, we have another acquisition. WPEngine acquired NitroPack. That's cool. NitroPack is a company that does speed optimizations and whatnot. So it's kind of neat. And lastly in the news, Beaverbuilder has released a new medical and dental template for free. So that's kind of cool. I looked at this. That was kind of neat. It's very nice looking. It helps, just kind of getting a theme template up and running pretty quickly. If you have a need for that, check it out over at beaverbuilder.com. So I think, actually, I'll put a link in the show notes to exactly where it is. Yeah. I'll put a link in the show notes. So yeah, kind of neat. It came out back middle of July, the July 12th. So I guess actually just a week ago. All right, that's it in the news. Yeah, moving on to segment two. This week's episode, the meat potatoes, it's a Q&A episode. Questions and answers. You send them in, I answer them. And I have three questions today, and they're actually really all amazing questions with some interesting angles on here. Anyway, moving on to the first one here. This is sent in by William. Will Automattic ever go public, and would you buy stock if it did? Ooh, well, that is an interesting question and fantastic one, I may add, William, because it's something I've actually thought about and chatted about with other people over the years. And the resounding answer is, from those conversations, a solid maybe on both fronts. First of all, let's discuss and tackle the issue of Automattic going public. And one would think so that eventually they will, or in some capacity, I'll talk about that in a second, because they have investors. They have historically investors want to see a return of investment 5, 7, 10 years later maybe, but they want something in return for that investment. The most recent infusion of cash was a $300 million Series D round by Salesforce Ventures. That was back in 2019. And that gave the company a valuation of $3 billion. Not too bad, So, of course, people want to see the ROI. Companies want to do that. So how would it be done in this case? Honestly, I'm just riffing here. Perhaps, in my opinion, it would be a spinoff. Maybe WooCommerce gets spun off or a VIP division gets spun off. I don't know exactly. But it's viable. I guess it's an option somehow. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. Now, on the question of would I invest in something if it went public? Well, it's also a solid maybe because it depends on the share price and, it just kind of comes down to money, right? And right now, most of my gambling has been in starting a business versus the stock market. I'm just saying how it is. I mean, starting a business is quite the gamble as well. And 7.5 years in, 7.5 years of the agency, I'm doing okay with it, I guess, So anyway, all right. So I hope that answers your question. Will it go public? Maybe. Some people want it to. Some people don't care. I don't know. It's one of those things we don't know until we know, right? So, all right, moving on to the next question here. This one's sent in by Marcus. Oh yeah, Marcus sent this in. Along with the software itself, one of my favorite parts of the WordPress ecosystem is the community. It's arguably what makes WordPress so good. Do other software products, Shopify, Drupal, React, PHP, have this kind of community? And I'm missing it, or is WordPress kind of unique in that sense? Ooh, well, thanks for the question, Marcus. Very interesting. The short answer is no. Those other platforms have nothing at all. They are vast spaces of empty promises. I'm kidding, of course. Truth be told, they all do have solid communities in their own right. And in some of my research on my end, along with some real world experience, can confirm that, does actually confirm that for me. So starting with the research, I did a little digging here. PHP, for example, they are a very widely used general purpose scripting language. There's a community behind it. They have conferences called PHP Tech, SymphonyCon, and many regional PHP user groups I found as well. They have a lot of support through extensive documentation, forums over on Stack Overflow, numerous IRC channels, and of course, Slack groups. Some of their characteristics, by the way, developer-centric, primarily focused on developers with many resources to improve the coding skills and best practices. They have strong communities within the frameworks like Laravel, Symfony, and Zend. And they are, of course, an open source culture-based type of group, very collaborative in their development. On the Drupal side of things, size and reach, of course, smaller than WordPress, but highly active and very dedicated. They have an event called DrupalCon. It's their flagship event, along with numerous local meetups and camps. I looked at meetup.com as well. And again, detailed documentation, forums, and a vibrant community over on Drupal.org. Their key characteristics, in case you want to know, are, again, enterprise-focused and developer, mostly geared towards developers and the enterprise-level solutions. Complexity and customizations, they're known for that flexibility in the complexity suitable for large and complex sites. Not that WordPress isn't, but they actually are as well. Let's see. Moving over here, last one, Shopify. Size and reach. Of course, it's growing a lot because Shopify is popular with e-commerce platform, right? And I've talked about Shopify in past episodes as an alternative to like WooCommerce. So their events, they have an event called Shopify Unite. It's their main conference with local meetups and partner events as well. And they have a robust support system through their Shopify Help Center, forums, and their partner ecosystem. Very merchant focused, tailored towards e-commerce merchants and business owners. Commercial orientation, strong focus in that area of business growth with resources aimed at primarily helping merchants succeed. Well, not primarily, helping merchants succeed, right? So there you have it. But as far as my actual real life experience goes, it was when I attended my first ATO conference here in Raleigh back in 2018. Oh, what is ATO, you may ask? It stands for All Things Open. And it was probably the first non-WordPress conference I had attended in at least 10 years. It was eye-opening to say the least. It was refreshing, really, to see other communities in relation to open source and how they approached it as well. And I did a podcast. I went back and looked at it. I thought I had done this. That was episode 244. I'll put a link in the show notes as well, where I did a recap on it. If I'm not mistaken, also, that was a conference I might have attended that I actually didn't take a laptop, just took a pad of paper and a pen to take notes and to kind of take it all in. And I got to tell you, it's a very big conference, a lot of sessions, a lot of tracks, overwhelming in one aspect. I mean, it's like if your first time ever attending a WordPress conference and you go to a WordCamp US or Europe, it's kind of like that. You just get thrown into like the deep end with so many different angles and different things about open source. Anyway, so there's that. I'm also friends with someone here locally who has feet in both Drupal and WordPress. She's super smart, super cool, and she balances both just fine. Matter of fact, I think she does a little bit more in the Drupal side of things because not a whole lot going on here locally in the WordPress side of things for the community aspect. So she heads up some Drupal talks, and events during the year. I believe she goes up to Asheville as well. So again, other platforms are alive and kicking, Marcus, and they're strong in their own right from what I can see. So yeah, I think it's out there. If you want to get involved, it's just a matter of put yourself out there if you want to see what else is going on in other platforms or in open source in general. So, all right, thanks for the question. All right, last question here. This one's sent in by Lori. When will I feel like I'm a real business? Ooh, well, that's not like a heavy question or anything to end with, but I'm glad you asked it because I too wonder, sometimes more than others, about this. And in thinking about this answer for you, Lori, I have two areas to consider. One would be tangible milestones, and second would be personal perception. So in the tangible, I'll give you three things here. Revenue generation. Obviously, having consistent income from your business, covering expenses, ideally turning a profit, is a strong sign that your business is on solid footing. Okay. Having a client base, having it be stable and growing, the customers or clients who return and refer others to you also indicate that your business is valued and sustainable. And of course, formal structure. Establishing your business legally, whether an LLC, a corporation, S Corp, C Corp, whatever, gives you that formal recognition and often offers that sense of being a legitimate business, as well as the taxes you got to pay after the fact. So there's that. On the personal perception side of things, it's not as easily figure outable, I suppose, but that is how I want to approach it. Anyway, confidence and expertise. feeling confident in your knowledge, skills, and decision-making abilities within the industry in question can make you really feel like a true business owner. It's that whole imposter syndrome aspect. So if you can get over that hurdle, it'll help a lot. Okay. And it's never super easy, and it's fleeting at best, in my opinion, in my experience. And the other thing there on the personal side, actually there's 2 more here. Number 2 would be work-life balance, because if you can achieve that balance where your business doesn't consume all of your time and at least allows you to have a personal life, it can make you feel like much more control and an established company and a business. And lastly, community impact. Now, because this is important in the WordPress space, but also just in business in general, having a positive impact in your business on your community through providing jobs, supporting local causes, offering simple, valuable services or products really does help your sense and it reinforces the sense of purpose and success. So in my experience and in my opinion, the feeling of being a real business often comes down to the time and the accumulation of experiences, success, and failures. So with that, I say keep pushing forward, learning and adapting, and eventually you'll likely find that sense of legitimacy growing just kind of naturally. It will come, it will happen, and you'll be like, oh, I run a company. I'm legitimate. This is what I do. So there you go. Hope that helps you, Lori. I really do. Great question. Really appreciate it. All right. Moving on, segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This week's a tip. I've never mentioned this one, I don't think. It's a website. It's over called Gutenberg Times. And if you're looking for information about all things Gutenberg, meaning the old, what's called now the Block Editor, it's all the news and community voices about it. So check it out over there at gutenbergtimes.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. Great resource for all things Block Editor. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@kitchensinkWP.com, or use that speak pipe function on the website. You can, get your voice heard here on the podcast in about 7 to 8 weeks. I do it every 8 weeks or so. If you want to support the show, I would love that. Become a Patreon or buy me a coffee, link in the show notes and on the website as well. If you want to sponsor the show, there's a form you need to fill out. Do that. I'll get right back to you and we'll go from there. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right. Bye-bye.